Welcome to Daily English Grow.
Hello, English learners, and welcome back to Daily English Grow, your cozy place to learn English, improve your speaking skills, and grow with confidence. I'm Maya, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. Maybe you're feeling a little tired today. Maybe you're sitting in front of your phone, avoiding your homework, your work, or your long to-do list. Well, don't worry. At least you're spending that time learning English. And honestly, today's topic might be exactly what you need. Have you ever wanted to say something in English, but you started thinking too much? Maybe you had a sentence in your head. You knew the words. You understood the conversation. You even knew exactly what you wanted to say, but then you started thinking, is my grammar correct? What if I pronounce this word wrong? What if they don't understand me? What if they laugh? Maybe I should say it differently. Maybe this sentence sounds better. Maybe I should wait. And then the moment is gone. The conversation moves on, and you stay quiet. If this sounds familiar, today's episode is for you. Today, we're talking about something that affects so many English learners. The topic is stop thinking and start talking. Today, I want to help you calm that noisy voice inside your head and start using your English in real life. We're going to talk about why we overthink, why speaking sometimes feels scary, and how you can slowly become more comfortable opening your mouth and speaking English. I'll also share simple tools, useful phrases, and easy ways to practice without putting too much pressure on yourself. So, take a deep breath, relax. You do not need to be perfect today. You just need to be here. But before we begin, I have one small favor to ask you. If you enjoy learning English with me, please like this video and subscribe to Daily English Grow. It really helps the channel grow and helps more English learners find these lessons. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. You can introduce yourself with one simple sentence. I'm your name from your country. And then you can complete this sentence. One situation where I overthink and stay quiet is maybe you overthink in class, maybe at work, maybe when you're talking to strangers, maybe when you're speaking English with someone. Write it in the comments. Remember, writing is also practice. When you write a sentence, your English brain is working. You're choosing words, building sentences, and expressing your thoughts. And little by little, that helps you become more confident. Now, before we go deeper into today's topic, let's quickly talk about the level of this episode. Today's lesson is around the B1 level, so it's great for intermediate English learners. The English will be clear and simple, but we're also going to talk about some deeper ideas and useful vocabulary. And if you're a strong beginner, don't worry. You are absolutely welcome here too. You might not understand every single word, and that's okay. Just listen, relax, and try to understand the main ideas. And during this episode, I'll also explain some useful words and phrases naturally. Then, near the end, we'll do a little vocabulary review together. So stay with me until the end. All right. Let's get started. When your brain is full but your mouth is silent, I want you to imagine a situation. You're in another country. You walk into a small bakery. Before entering, you practiced your English sentence many times. You say to yourself, "Hi, can I have that chocolate cake, please?" Simple, right? You know the sentence, you know the words. You practiced it. Then it's your turn. The person behind the counter looks at you and says something quickly. And suddenly, your brain stops. 1 second. Everything was working. The next second, it's like your brain lost its Wi-Fi connection. You open your mouth, you want to speak, but nothing comes out. Maybe you say something like, hi, cake, this, please. And maybe you point at the cake. Now, you might feel embarrassed. You might walk away thinking, I studied this. Why couldn't I say one simple sentence? But here's something important. You still communicated. You got the cake. The person understood you. And most importantly, you tried. So often, we think communication has to be perfect, but it doesn't. Communication is about connecting with another person. Sometimes your grammar won't be perfect. Sometimes you will forget a word. Sometimes you will need to point at something, and that's okay because you're learning. I think many English learners have experienced something similar. Maybe not in a bakery, maybe during a video call, maybe in an English class, maybe at work. You know exactly what you want to say. In your head, your English sounds amazing. You have a complete idea. Maybe you even create the perfect sentence in your mind. Then someone says, "What do you think?" And suddenly your brain becomes a crowded room. Too many thoughts, too many voices. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, fear. Everything starts shouting at the same time, and instead of sharing your real idea, you just say, "Yes, I agree," even though you had so much more to say. Have you ever done that? I think many of us have, and this is where we need to understand something important. Sometimes, the problem is not that you have no English. Sometimes you actually have the words. You have ideas. You understand, but you're overthinking. Your head is full of sentences, but your mouth is silent. Or, as I like to say, your mouth is on mute. And today, we're going to talk about how to turn that voice back on. Why do we overthink when we speak English? For many people, it starts with fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of saying the wrong word, fear of mispronouncing something, fear that someone will judge you. Maybe you think, what if they think my English is bad? What if they laugh at my accent? What if I make a stupid mistake? And sometimes, nobody actually says these things, but your brain says them to you. Your brain becomes like a very strict teacher. Every time you want to speak, that little voice says, "Careful, don't make a mistake." And sometimes, this fear comes from an old experience. Maybe when you were younger, you made a mistake in class. Maybe someone laughed. Maybe a teacher corrected you in a cold or embarrassing way. Maybe a friend made a joke about your pronunciation. And even if it was only one small moment, your brain remembers it. You may smile on the outside, but inside, you think, okay, maybe it's safer if I stay quiet next time. And that feeling can stay with you for years. Your brain learns something. It starts to believe. Speaking is dangerous. Staying quiet is safer. So every time you want to speak English, a little alarm goes off inside your head. Beep, 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 danger. Don't talk. You might make a mistake. But here's the truth. Making mistakes is not dangerous. It's uncomfortable sometimes. It can feel embarrassing, but it's not dangerous. And every person who speaks a language well today once made thousands of mistakes. The second big reason is perfectionism. Perfectionism means believing that everything has to be perfect. The perfect grammar, the perfect vocabulary, the perfect pronunciation, the perfect accent. You don't want to say just a normal sentence. You want to say the best possible sentence. For example, maybe you want to say, "I want to speak better." But in your head, you start changing it. Maybe, "I have always been interested in improving my communication skills." Yes, that's a beautiful sentence. But do you need it? No. Sometimes the simple sentence is enough. "I want to speak better." That's clear. That's natural. That's communication. The problem with perfectionism is that while you're waiting for the perfect sentence, the moment passes. It's like standing at a bus stop and waiting for the perfect bus. One bus comes. You say, "No, not this one." Another bus comes. "No, not this one." Another one comes. Still not perfect. And suddenly, all the buses are gone. You're still standing there. The same thing happens in conversations. You think, maybe I should say this. No, wait, maybe this sounds better. No, that grammar is better. And before you're ready, the conversation has moved to another topic. Maybe you're at a party. You want to join a group of people speaking English. You think of a sentence, then you change it, then you fix it, then you fix it again. And in the end, you don't say anything. You just look at your phone. And later, you go home thinking, why didn't I just say something? So sometimes, your English isn't the only thing speaking. Your fear is speaking. Your old memories are speaking. Your perfectionism is speaking. And all that noise can become louder than your real voice. But here's the good news. You can train yourself. You don't have to wait until you feel zero fear. You don't have to become completely confident before you speak. You can start speaking while you're still a little nervous. You can speak with fear in the room. You can make mistakes. You can pause. You can forget words. And you can still communicate. So let's talk about some simple tools that can help you move from thinking to talking. Tool number 1, use short, simple sentences. Many English learners put too much pressure on themselves because they try to speak like a book. They want long, beautiful, complicated sentences. But speaking doesn't need to sound like an essay. You're talking to another human being. So ask yourself, what is the small version of this sentence? For example, instead of saying, "Recently, I've been feeling a little overwhelmed with my studies," you can simply say, "Study is hard these days." Both sentences communicate a similar idea. But the second one is easier to say when you're nervous. Instead of, "I would really appreciate it if you could explain that again," you can say, "Can you explain that again, please?" Simple. Clear, natural. Remember, you don't need impressive English. You need usable English. The English that actually comes out of your mouth is more useful than the perfect English hiding inside your head. Tool number 2, start with reaction words. Sometimes starting a conversation feels difficult, so don't start with a big speech. Start small. Use reaction words. Reaction words are short phrases that show you're listening and responding to another person. For example, "Oh, really? That's nice." "No way. I understand. That's difficult." "Really? What happened?" Imagine your friend says, "I'm so tired from work today." You can say, "Oh, really? That's difficult. Do you have a lot of work?" Look how simple that is. First, a reaction. "Oh, really?" Then, a small opinion. "That's difficult." Then, a question. "Do you have a lot of work?" And suddenly, you're having a conversation. You didn't need a perfect speech, you just needed to react. Reaction words are powerful because they help you begin speaking. And while you're saying those first few words, your brain gets a little more time to prepare the next sentence. So remember, you don't always need to know exactly what to say. Sometimes you can simply react. Tool number 3, prepare ready phrases. Another great tool is to prepare a few phrases that you can use again and again. I call these ready phrases. These are sentences that you practice so many times that they become almost automatic. For example, at school or work, you could practice, "Sorry, could you repeat that? Can I ask a quick question? I don't understand this part. Could you explain that again?" In daily life, you could practice, "Hi, can I get a coffee, please? Can you recommend something? Is there another option?" You don't need 50 phrases. You don't need to memorize an entire dictionary. Even 5 useful phrases can change your day. Because when you know that a phrase is ready in your mind, you don't have to create a completely new sentence every time. And please remember this, simple and spoken is better than perfect and silent. Let me say that again. Simple and spoken is better than perfect and silent. A short sentence that comes out of your mouth is more useful than a perfect sentence that stays inside your head forever. Practice in safe mode now. You might be thinking, "Okay, Maya, I understand, but where can I practice without feeling too nervous?" That's a great question. I want you to think about something called low pressure practice. Low pressure means a relaxed situation. No test, no grades, no teacher watching you, no audience waiting for you to be perfect. One of the easiest ways to practice is to talk to yourself. Yes, talk to yourself. When you're cooking, you can describe what you're doing. You can say, "Now I'm cutting the vegetables. After this, I'm going to eat. Then I'll watch an English video." If you're walking somewhere, you can say, "I'm walking to the bus stop. I feel a little tired today. But I'm happy because I'm practicing English." At first, it may feel strange, but that's okay. You're training your mouth to produce English. You already practice listening. You probably practice reading. Maybe you write. But speaking also needs practice. Your mouth needs practice. Another great idea is to record voice messages. You don't even have to send them to anyone. Open your phone, press record, and talk for 30 seconds. Talk about your day. Talk about what you ate. Talk about a movie. Talk about something that made you happy. You can say, "Today was a normal day. I woke up at, then I," It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. The goal is to practice producing English. And if you have a friend who makes you feel safe, you can also practice with them. You can say, "Hey, I'm practicing my English. It's not perfect, but I want to speak more. Is it okay if I send you some short voice messages?" A good friend will understand. And if you don't have someone to practice with yet, that's okay. You still have a mirror. And the good news? The mirror never laughs at your accent. Stand in front of the mirror and say 1 or 2 sentences. Today I feel, today I learned, today I want. Think of English speaking like dancing. Before dancing in front of a lot of people, many people practice alone. They dance in their room, they make mistakes, they try again. And slowly, they become more comfortable. Speaking English is similar. Practice alone first. Then, when you have a real conversation, it won't feel completely new. Change the way you talk to yourself. There is another important thing we need to change. Not only what you say to other people, but also what you say to yourself. Many English learners have a very strict inner voice. Maybe you say, "My English is terrible. I'm stupid. I can't speak. I'll never sound good." But imagine if another person spoke to you like that every day. You would probably feel terrible. So why speak to yourself that way? Let's change those sentences. Instead of, "My English is terrible," try, "My English is under construction." I love this phrase. When something is under construction, it isn't finished yet. People are still working on it. They're building it, improving it, making progress. So if your English isn't where you want it to be yet, that's okay. Your English is under construction. Instead of saying, "I can't speak English," try, "I'm learning to speak English more." Instead of, "I always make mistakes," try, "I'm practicing, and mistakes are part of learning." And instead of, "I'm not good enough," try, "I'm improving step by step." This is called progress. Progress means moving forward, maybe slowly, maybe with mistakes, maybe one small step at a time, but you're moving. And every time you say even one sentence in English, you're practicing. That's progress, your tiny challenge. So now, I want to give you a very small challenge. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Say one real sentence in English. Just one. You can say it to another person. You can say it to yourself. You can say it in front of the mirror, or you can record it as a voice message. Maybe you can say, "I feel nervous, but I want to speak more English." Or, "Today, I listened to a podcast to practice my English." Or simply, "Today is a good day to practice." Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel completely confident. Choose a small, normal moment and speak one sentence. That's all. And if you want, you can also complete this sentence in the comments. One situation where I overthink and stay quiet is, maybe writing about it is your first step. Maybe tomorrow, speaking about it can be your next step. Remember, you are not alone. There are so many English learners around the world who understand exactly how you feel. So let's learn together. Let's make mistakes together. And let's keep talking. Vocabulary review. Before we finish, let's do a calm little vocabulary review. We'll look at some important words and phrases from today's episode. The first word is overthinking. Overthinking means thinking too much about something until it becomes a problem. For example, I wanted to send a voice message, but I overthought every word, so I didn't send anything. Or, I overthink before I speak English and then I stay quiet. Your brain becomes so busy that your mouth stops. The next phrase is on mute. If your TV or phone is on mute, there is no sound. In today's episode, I said, your head is full of sentences, but your mouth is on mute. That means you have ideas inside your mind, but you're not allowing those words to come out. The next word is perfectionism. Perfectionism means wanting everything to be perfect. For example, because of my perfectionism, I don't speak unless my grammar is perfect. Or, her perfectionism makes her check every message 10 times before sending it. Perfectionism can make learning feel heavy. The next phrase is low pressure. Low pressure means relaxed and not stressful. For example, talking to myself while I cook is low-pressure English practice. Or, sending a short voice message to my friend feels low pressure for me. The next word is progress. Progress means moving forward step by step. For example, I still make mistakes, but I understand more English now. That's progress. Or, even one sentence a day is progress. Remember, small steps still count. The next phrase is under construction. Normally, we say something is under construction when people are still building or working on it. For example, my English is under construction. That means your English isn't finished yet. You're still learning, you're still building, you're still improving, and that's completely okay. Next, we have reaction words. Reaction words are small phrases that show you're listening and interested. For example, "Oh, really? That's nice." "No way. I understand." That's difficult. These phrases are short, but they can help you start a conversation. And finally, ready phrases. Ready phrases are sentences that you practice many times, so they're ready when you need them. For example, "Sorry, could you repeat that? Can I ask a quick question? Can you recommend something? I don't understand this part." When you have a few ready phrases, speaking can feel easier. Your brain doesn't have to create every sentence from the beginning. Final message. Before I go, I want you to remember something. You don't have to fix everything in one day. You don't have to become fluent overnight. You don't have to speak perfect English. One small sentence today is already progress. Your English is under construction. And that's a beautiful thing. Just don't let overthinking mute your voice. You have ideas, you have stories, you have thoughts. And yes, maybe your English isn't perfect yet, but your voice still deserves to be heard. So keep talking, even if your sentence is short, even if you make a mistake. Even if you feel nervous, keep talking. Because every time you speak, you're practicing. Every time you try, you're improving. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here on Daily English Grow. If this episode helped you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more English lessons, speaking practice, vocabulary, and confidence-building content. And don't forget your tiny challenge. Say one real sentence in English today. That's all. One sentence. You can do it. I'm Maya, and this is Daily English Grow. Take care, keep practicing, keep growing, and most importantly, stop thinking. Start talking. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye!